Today is a good day to talk about Algarve or Albufeira I think that's the way it's pronounced anyway, in Portugal. And the interesting things about this interesting place. A lot of people go to Algarve or Albufeira because, well, it's got sunshine, which a lot of people in Northern Europe cannot really say they often have. And another thing is that it is cheaper, and that makes it even more interesting, and it's relatively safe place. So when you're thinking about, it's basically a no-brainer why you would want to go there. And when you check online as well, people are saying, look at me in this nice place, I'm getting a suntan and it's all great. But anyway, we're going to talk about a couple of things, problems facing Albufeira or Algarve as a region in a whole, and the reason why the mayor is like, don't come here. The mayor is basically trying to find people for coming. Anyway, one of the attractions, and when they say the things to do, one of the attractions is that the cost of living there, as one of a country in Southern Europe, is that it's relatively cheap. Okay, for an apartment, you could pay between 600 to 1,000, depending on, the size and the location and all that. So the more expensive, of course, the more luxurious and the more fancy the area will be. And so one bedroom apartment or flat and all those things, you get those. And even it has been, even buying a property, a lot of Brits actually go to Southern Europe, Spain, Algarve, southern France, to buy a house there, because when you take your pounds, you come and you can really get a good deal. And because sometimes, especially retired people, would go to places like that because it has the advantage of you get the sunshine, you've got the living conditions are better, your money goes a long way. But okay, and then you retire because there isn't much work in the area. That's why wages are a bit lower. And it is basically said you can, weekly shopping is less than €100 per week. So that's not bad. And it is said that you could actually live rather comfortably, depending on how your lifestyle, of course, for about 1,500 euros per month, which is like when Brits living in London see that, they're like, oh, I think I should move. But you don't really want to move if you're young and you need to get a job, not unless you get a remote job. And then your remote job, during the days of the pandemic, it was fun. A lot of people were doing it. But now, well, you're basically, your boss wants you to live next door to the office. No more of this remote thing nonsense. Anyway. This just goes to show you the reality that sometimes something that used to work a few years ago no longer a viable way of life. But anyway, let's talk about some of the things that people actually like doing. But I think this isn't unique to Algarve and the Albufeira area. It's just one of those things where you have a country that's got sunshine, and it's got a lot of resorts very close to the beach. So they say, oh, go to the playa or the, what's it called? No, the beach called the Pescadores, and then you've got the playa of San Rafael, the beach, Benagli, and Cavallo Beach. Basically, it's like, you want beaches, we've got you covered. And that is a good thing, things to do. And you could go, what's called dolphin watching, kayaking, and parasailing, all the usual suspect that you see in a country that prides itself on tourism. And then, of course, you've got the nightlife, the strip in Albufeira. Yeah, the notorious strip. And all right, now this brings us to one of the problems in is that the problem is not over tourism in Algarve. especially the Brits ones, is the reputation that they bring with them. They're known to be loud. They're known to be basically, they come to party hard. Stag do's, they bring basically a group of people. They come just to party. They spend the whole night partying. The next day in the morning they're sleeping, and then they wake up, have brunch, and then they go back and have more fun. And so that is becoming a problem. And I think part of the problem is that locals are complaining about it because of the lewd behavior of the Brits. And because the Brits often would come with the aim to party, so they also then go into, buying illicit substance and taking them and then losing their minds. You hear people just jump off something, and you're like, what is going on? And the funny thing, there are some of the reports, you would think, oh, these teenagers are early 20s with a bit of money, are now living with their mother, and now with a bit of money misbehaving. But the funny thing is that there are people in the late 30s, early 40s or 40s, just behaving like teenagers and just going really crazy. And you're like, what is going on? Is this a Brit disease or something? No. I think the funny thing is that most of these people doing that, when they're at home, they're often a bit tamed. But when they go abroad, it's just like, I think the weather in the UK basically turns them into, they just can't wait to get out. It's just like they've been in cages all over for so many years or months, and now the summer is here. They're like, oh, finally I could cut loose, and cut loose they do. Now, so in the Strip and all these other places, and you're thinking, why is the city encouraging them to behave this way? I think there are multiple reasons. First of all, there isn't a lot of jobs in the south of Portugal, and generally in Portugal the salaries are lower, so you need tourism, and tourism bring the needed income revenue for the country. For example, people have to pay for the plane tickets, and then when they get into the country they stay in hotels, and then they go to restaurants, and they spend money, and that is a welcome thing for any country that depends on tourism. So because of that, then they know now that every summer or every holidays, a lot of the Brits and other people would come and party. And because of that, there are a lot of bars catering to all these people. And because of that, you have the consequence of that, people getting drunk and, taking substances they're not supposed to be taking, and then basically losing their minds, taking off their clothing in the streets, and then just behaving badly, puking and peeing, and then you hear some horror stories. And if you're local, you do appreciate people coming to enjoy your country and basically behaving themselves. But when they start to behave like some of the Brits, I say some because it would be wrong to generalize. A lot of people, a lot of Brits would go and have, enjoy their holidays, behave normally, come back home, and no one would even bat an eye. But now, with the internet, where people are basically filming all the crazy things some of these people do, well, it's not a good look for the locals and even the reputation of people from the UK. Now, someone said, look, the reason why I don't like going to Algarve or Albufeira is that I'm trying to get away from from the local Brits in the UK, and then when I get there, it's just like we all got a rendezvous there, and they're all here. I don't want that. So what Portugal basically wants is that they want you to come and spend your money. They also want you to behave. But now it's a double-edged sword, because in the Strip, or well, the party area, there's a lot of money being made there, good or bad money, but there's money being made, and it creates jobs. And because even all the hotels are filled up with anyway, people are renting hotels or Airbnb or whatever it is. So because of that, you would think maybe instead of saying behave, they should curtail the amount of alcohol being served, and basically trying to get the cooperation of the bars and clubs to join in this. And that is what apparently is going to happen. And I think that it might be a good thing, but that seems to be something that we'll see the future will tell. First of all, some people claimed that when Benidorm or I don't know, Ibiza or some place, a party town in Spain somewhere, decided to clamp down on a lot of the behaviors from, these British people coming to have a good time. Then people said, oh, it's too strict here. And then they moved to Algarve Albufeira. They moved to Portugal because, well, it's got the sunshine. It's got basically the same thing, and they can do whatever they want. And to a certain extent, it was good for Portugal. But then it means that if your city becomes known with a bad reputation of just being not a really tourist-friendly, reserved area where families can come to have a good time, then it means in the long term, the reputation will be damaged, and you're not going to get the the quality tourists that you really want, people who would just spend money, chill, have a good time, not just the party freaks that you normally get. So now they said, we're going to fine you if you wear a bikini out, revealing bikini outside of the designated beach area. So what used to happen was that people would go to the beach, and then in their bikinis or almost without any top on, and then they walk along the streets, the esplanade, all the streets along the beaches. And some people said, look, we could appreciate that you're close to the beach, but you're no longer on the beach. So a bit of decorum here, a bit of modesty, a bit of common sense. So now if you do that, you're getting fined, up to 1,000 euros. And you're like, what? 1,000 euros just for showing a bit of skin? Yes, exactly. You've been warned. And also, basically, if you what else do they do? If you misbehave in public, they're basically trying to make sure people outside behave, basically. Make it, I don't think it's like, their idea is basically not to punish people. I think that the idea is more to make the public space fun for everyone. And I think from that perspective, I think it's a good thing. And then they also banning wild camping. But I think it's not rather unique to Algarve or the Albufeira area. It's more like a European thing now, where that's why there was a big court case in the UK, in Dartmoor, where some rich guy said he was going to ban everyone from public lands, and he went to court and they lost, and now finally they won. But anyway, wild camping has become an issue, and you could understand the reason why it's been an issue, because apart from people sometimes when they're wild camping, they just think, oh, it's free land, and they can just abandon, basically litter the whole place, and then expect someone else to clean up. But anyway, all that is just a wild camping, basically, is just to say, yes, it's not something that's unique to Portugal. And then you have street drinking. And now, in some countries, I think part of the US, you cannot, open drinking in the streets is forbidden. So if you go to a bar, you can just say, give me a beer, and then take it out on the street and walk around and drink. So that's prohibited. You can't do that. And that's what now they're trying to do in Portugal, just to make sure people behave, make it a family friendly affair. And I think that is a good thing if they're going in that direction. Now, the second major problem facing Algarve area is drought, where a lot of apparently they haven't been getting enough rain, and because of that, it's impacting tourism. But how would that? How does that work? Basically, there's a lot of farming in the area, agriculture, and because of that, they're not getting enough rain. So it means it impacts production. It also means it impacts the fresh fruits or vegetables that are sent to the restaurants and hotels. And then if it impacts that, it impacts people coming in to the country for tourism. Basically, it goes hand in hand. So what are they going to do? Well, the government is like, well, tourism, agriculture uses a lot of water. What else uses a lot of water? Golf courses. So the plan is to ban, no, I wouldn't say ban, basically ban people from using their water sprinkler. I think, well, that is a good thing, because is it essential? Well, it is essential for people who like golfing and people who, the rich people who go golfing, because golfing is a rich people's sport. So from that perspective, that's one thing that the government is looking into. And also they're looking into diversify the revenue, so not make it too dependent on seasonal issues, where if you in dry season, you have less rain, and now all of a sudden the economy stops. But they're trying to say, okay, let's invest more, so that no matter what the season is, we've got enough revenue being generated, because we've diversified our source of income, which I think, well, good for you, and power to you. Something I've always wondered is this. I think I've heard Israel does this, where they convert seawater into agricultural water, basically make it less salty, and being able to use it for other means, because you can't just pump seawater into your agricultural land. It would just make render everything not fertile, sterile. But anyway, so they if Portugal is able to do that, I don't think that we'll have to worry too much about not getting enough rain. So that's another thing. So it just says basically the landscape is changing, and if you have agriculture, wine production, that's another thing that they do in the region. So if you're not getting sufficient rain, it means the production and the harvest is going to get ruined, and because of that, you lose the production, you lose income, then you have to get rid of people, fire people. It's going to create unemployment. It's going to create all the other problems that comes with drought. So that is not a good thing. So they've been trying to restrict water now with you people who have pools or golf courses. Don't use no more sprinklers, especially in the hottest part of the day. And if you have a pool, well, I don't think having a swimming pool is one of the biggest problems, because think about it. Most swimming pools now don't even change the water on a regular basis. What they do is that they've got chemicals and other things that they now use, and filters to clean it. So instead of dumping the water and refilling your pool, you can just clean it and make it more usable. So from that perspective, I'm not quite sure how much of an impact pools are, not unless I could imagine water evaporation can be another thing, because it's very hot in that country. So you need to basically top it up every now and then. So that can be, maybe that's a factor that they consider. Anyway, so those are the two things that Portugal, that region is facing. And I think the biggest one, or the most visible one, are Brits behaving badly. And they're trying to now make sure that's not the case, make the tourist area more family friendly. The other one that a lot of people don't talk about, especially, is because it's not your problem, you come for a week or two and you leave, is the lack of sufficient rainfall. And I think the same thing actually happened in the Panama Canal a couple of years ago, where they were really worried that if they don't get enough rain, it's going to impact the flow of traffic of vessels through the canal. And then you have other regions complaining about the same thing, and people say, yeah, blame global warming. But anyway, it doesn't matter who you blame. So those are some of the problems facing Algarve. Let's see what the future holds.